Is an independent contractor the same as an employee? No, it's not. Business owners would love to classify every worker as an independent contractor. Why? Because it saves them money on taxes. They don't have to deal with all the rights of employees. Employment laws in every state give rights to employees that are not available to independent contractors. So if possible, a business would love to characterize every single worker as a contractor, not an employee. And for this reason, legislatures in every state, or if not legislatures, judges, have come up with a standard for determining whether a person is an employee or an independent contractor. By the way, the other body that comes up with this besides judges and legislatures is a department in the government that oversees employment matters, whatever that's called in your particular state. So business owners would love to say everyone's an independent contractor. That would save them money on payroll tax, about 15%, by the way. So it's not an insignificant amount. Business owners would also like to characterize workers as independent contractors so they can avoid all the employment laws that protect employees. But there are employee independent contractor tests or standards, and there's a number of them. There's the IRS one, there's the one in your state. Each state has different ones, but these tests are used to determine whether a business owner has to characterize somebody as an employee, even though you'd love to characterize them as an independent contractor. All right, what happens if a person is mischaracterized? In other words, you called them an independent contractor, but under the law, under the legal tests, they're an employee. So first off, you can get in trouble with the government. Second, that person can sue you for all the rights as an employee and for compensation for the tax that the contractor paid that you as an employer should have paid. So the consequences can be quite significant. There can also be attorney's fees and additional penalties on that. So as a business owner, if you are using workers, especially individuals, I'd recommend working with an attorney or possibly a CPA in determining whether each worker qualifies as an employee. Now, if they're in your office, if they're your secretary, your president, assistant, or director of a department, obviously they're an employee. And by the way, if they are an electrician, a plumber, or an attorney who just comes in and helps with something and they're located at another location, they help a lot of people, they're a contractor. The ones that are somewhere in the middle are trickier. For example, let's say you hire a photographer. The question is, does that photographer use her equipment or your equipment? Does the photographer serve other clients or just you? Does the photographer work in your office or outside the office? Does the photographer have the independence and autonomy to implement her professional skills, or are you giving guidance, training, and careful direction and oversight? These are factors or questions that are asked in the test to determine whether a person needs to be categorized as an employee or can be properly categorized as a contractor. And that example I just gave you with a photographer who's doing a lot of work for a business is a great example of a gray area where often the photographer will be considered an employee if they're working a lot for just you, they spend time in the office, maybe they use your equipment, you may be supervising him and giving him very specific direction. That's looking a lot more like an employee than an independent contractor, just kind of comes in and does the job and is done. So, is an independent contractor the same as an employee? No, there's a huge difference under the law. And if businesses call people independent contractors and they're employees, the business can have a lot of liability. If you're in that situation, I recommend contacting an employment attorney in your state and explain, hey, I just found out that some of my workers who I call independent contractors might actually be employees under the law. Can you help me figure out what I need to do about that? By the way, if you are thinking, I wish I had access to some educational content like this that was specifically geared to help business owners avoid these problems in advance rather than trying to solve them after the problems arise. You can sign up at aaronhall.com/free to get on my free mailing list to get exclusive educational videos that help you avoid these sorts of problems. There's no cost involved. It's just a public service to help people find more valuable, relevant information to avoid legal problems and try to increase the likelihood of success in your company.